Hi guys, welcome to the brand new section of the course, More with TensorFlow. We'll start this section by showing how to use the various aspects of TensorBoard, a capability that comes with TensorFlow that allows us to visualize summary metrics, graphs, and images even while our model is training. The remaining videos in this section will show how to use TensorFlow's group function to stepwise updates. This function will allow us to implement a genetic algorithm, perform k-means clustering, and even solve a system of ODEs. Without further ado, let's begin with the first video of the section, Visualizing Graphs in TensorBoard. In this video, we're going to see how to monitor numerical values, histograms of sets of values, and how to create an image in TensorBoard. TensorFlow includes a computational graph visualization tool called TensorBoard. With TensorBoard, we can visualize and graph important values like loss, accuracy, batch training time, and so on, even during training. To illustrate the various ways we can use TensorBoard, we will implement the linear regression model. As always, we first load the libraries necessary for the script. Now, initialize a session and create a summary writer that can write TensorBoard summaries to a TensorBoard folder. We need to make sure that the TensorBoard folder exists for the summary writer to write the TensorBoard logs. Next, we set the model parameters and generate the linear data for the model. Note that our true slope is 2, and we will visualize the changing slope over time and see it approach the true value. Split the data set into a train and test set. We then create the placeholders, variables, model operations, loss and optimizing operations. We can now create a TensorBoard operation that will summarize a scalar value. The scalar value that we will summarize is the slope estimate of the model. Another summary we can add to TensorBoard is a histogram summary, which inputs multiple values in a tensor and outputs graphs and histograms. After creating these summary operations, we need to create a summary merging operation that will combine all the summaries, and then we can initialize the model variables. So now we can train the linear model and write summaries every generation. In order to put the final graph of the linear fit with the data points in TensorBoard, we have to create the graph image in protobuf format. To start this, we will create a function that outputs a protobuf graph. Lastly, we create and add the protobuf image to TensorBoard. Be careful writing image summaries too often to TensorBoard. For example, if we were to write an image summary every generation for 10,000 generations, that would generate 10,000 images worth of summary data. This can eat up disk space very quickly. Be sure to run the script from the command line. Then start TensorBoard. Here's a sample of what we'll see. You can see our slope estimate visualized in TensorBoard, and for visualizing histograms of the eras. Here we can see a plot over the 100 generations of our scalar summary, the slope estimate. We can see that it does, in fact, approach the true value of 2. Nice! This shows one way to view histogram summaries, which can be viewed as multiple line graphs. Here's the final fit and data point graph that we put into protobuf format and inserted it into an image summary in TensorBoard. So this was all about visualizing graphs in TensorBoard.